Hello and a warm welcome to Triumph Women Beating the Odds. My name is Okello Sharon Nagenjwa, your host. A heavy reliance on climate change sensitive sectors makes Uganda's economy highly vulnerable to climate change. Agriculture, for instance, accounts for 40% of Uganda's GDP, employs 80% of the country's labor force, and supplies 85% of the exports. This week, we bring to you one of the women leading initiatives to save our environment. ADRINE MUSIIME Tumwesigye stands out as a remarkable figure in the realm of environmental conservation and education. As the founder and executive director of the Better Planet Initiative and the vice chairperson of the board of Climate Action Network Uganda, ADRINE's work has not been without its challenges, but this is how she has emerged triumphant. Oh, hi, ADRINE.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me on Triumph Women Beating the Odds.
I'm happy to be here and thank you for hosting me.
I love to see women winning.
Yeah, it's also my pleasure to see women shining.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, ADRINE, give me a brief introduction.
Yeah, as you have already said, I'm ADRINE MUSIIME Tumwesigye. I started as a teacher way back in 2001 up to 2002, where I was teaching biology and chemistry in secondary schools. But deep in my heart...
You're the people whose class we used to run away from.
No, you see, people mistake that. You see, these science subjects, it just takes passion and determination. And you find yourself excelling. Like in my career, I was teaching biology and I would see my students scoring A, B in biology. And I have had a number of students who are now in the medical field and I'm happy about it. For instance, on my second born, one of my students actually was with me in the labor ward and I was so proud about it because my student being with you in the labor ward, many teachers would say, this was my student, I should be out. But I said, no, this is my
was
product.
Was she your current student at that stage,
no,
or she had left?
She was my student in the past, before, but I found her in Zambia hospital doing work at the hospital and I was like, yes, come, be with me in the labor ward.
Wow. I
want to see what I taught you, whether actually you're putting it into practice.
Yes.
Yeah. So now, teaching aside, I had always wanted to be in environment work. So after a number of years doing teaching, I was looking around for where I can be to be able to put this into action.
Yes.
So fortunately in 2008, I met one of my former colleagues at the university. She had started an organization called Arocha Uganda, a Christian-based environmental organization. So she invited me to be part of her team. So immediately I said bye to teaching. And I joined an environment organization. Yes. But I do not regret.
Is there a connection between environment and biology and science?
You see, environment, biology, teaching, everything is intertwined. You cannot separate them. Because when you are teaching biology, there's a big component to do with environment. So when I joined Arocha Uganda, having the background of teaching, I continued with empowering communities.
So in other words, your background in science complemented your new transition.
Very true.
Okay.
Almost 100%. Because most of those concepts were learning in science and teaching in science. I was able to use that as transfer of knowledge to be able to do work in the environment organization.
You might be wondering why I'm overly emphasizing the teaching and the biology, the science lessons, and then the environment. It's because we have so many teachers who are stuck and they talk about how they're not receiving enough salary, how the teaching fraternity is not giving them as much. And I just want to show that there's actually a chance to transition from from the teaching to something similar? In other words, more of teaching should also be seen as a stepping stone for you to learn and then move to the next stage. So as you proceed.
Yes. So for me, being a teacher was a very big advantage.
Yes.
Because you learn skills of how you can empower communities.
Yes.
Actually, education, it is broad-based. I remember when we were at the university, there were quite a number of course units. We were so busy learning. Others had few course units, but for us, we had a full package.
Yes.
And indeed, all those skills that we attained in environment, public health, and etc., I was able to transit very well. So I encourage teachers who are out there, who may not be comfortable in the teaching, they can easily transit to something else that is part of their passion, and it will even reach, they will be able to empower other people out there.
Yes.
So there's a very big connection between teaching and also going to do work in the communities.
Okay. Now, so now moving to the environmental work.
Yeah, so when I joined Arusha, Uganda, as I told you, a Christian-based organization, I was privileged to work on a number of projects to do with the environment. Like you said, you know, climate change is here with us.
Yes.
It is something that we cannot run away from. We are looking at droughts, we are looking at floods, we are looking at mudslides, and so many things that are affecting communities.
That's true.
Yeah, so I was privileged to be on projects that empower communities on how they can fight climate change, how they can be resilient to climate change. For instance, projects to do with tree planting, sustainable land management, especially agriculture, teaching communities how they can actually benefit more from agriculture by applying principles of organic agriculture, agroecology practices. You know, I also worked on projects to do with energy conservation, and for this one, I'm really so passionate about it. Under energy conservation, I spearheaded the fireless cookers in my organization. I did trainings in charcoal briquetting, so people can cut down the energy costs. Yeah. So while I was still at Arusha, Uganda, I had an opportunity of my organization sending me to be part of Climate Action Network Uganda. So I started by being a board member, and just recently, last month, that was in July, I think, this year, I was elected Vice Chairperson Climate Action Network Uganda. And I'm proud that I'm in that position where we are championing climate justice, you know.
Now I'm just wondering, was this a childhood dream, or it was your dream was teaching, and then this one, you know, a blessing that just comes by chance?
This was my dream. While I was in secondary school, I was actually a member of Wildlife Club.
Yes.
And I would participate in some of these camps while at school. So I think the passion started way back 1991.
And you know, that's exactly what I keep telling people. That when you're stuck in life, first think about the things you used to do as a child. That is where your passion lies. And we never, for some reason, we all come back and lie down exactly where we started.
Yes. So while I was at school, by the way, I didn't tell you, my father, my late father, was a teacher of chemistry.
Also, school.
Yes. So he was a teacher of chemistry. So way back, they used to have models, some balls connected. So I would wonder, what are these? So I said, okay. He told me, when you reach in secondary school, you will see some of this in class.
Yes.
So when I reached in secondary school, I saw in chemistry, there were, you know, those things of chemistry. I said, yes, this is where I am going. So from there, I had to learn science.
Yeah, you also became a teacher.
And surprisingly, my father, I don't know, he saw something in me. He taught me so many things. Even slaughtering a goat, can you imagine?
You can slaughter a goat?
Yes.
You can proper hold it and chop.
Yes. So he told me that. I said, okay, this is my direction now. So when I got a chance of learning, of becoming a teacher, I said, yes, this is my transition, but I know where I am going. Yes. So while at the university, actually, I was even volunteering with Nature Uganda. Nature Uganda is an organization that works on nature activities in the country.
And that's exactly what young people should be doing. You look for an organization to just volunteer with. You don't need to be earning at that point. You're studying, but just volunteer.
So I volunteered with Nature Uganda, and then after 2000, when I joined teaching, I kept looking out for opportunities of how I can transit from teaching to environment work. So when I got that opportunity of joining Arusha Uganda, I said, yes, this is where I am.
This is where I needed to be. This is where I wanted to be from day one. Wow. So viewers, life is a journey. It's a transition. So most of us are so afraid of leaving our comfort zone, leaving what we are used to doing. For instance, ADRINE here started out as a teacher, and now she's an environmental activist. And most teachers out there are stuck. People are stuck in doing that one thing that they started with from the beginning. I mean, while consistency is beautiful, it's a banger, it's also important to explore something else that you fit in. So don't be afraid to take that risk and support your environment, your community, because our involvement and us working together can benefit the entire community. We'll be right back and continue with ADRINE's story. Welcome back from that short break. We are still here with ADRINE, who is telling her story on how she transitioned from being a teacher to a climate change activist. So ADRINE, let's continue with your story. It's an interesting one.
So into 2022, I decided to step down from Arusha, Uganda. But all along, I was thinking about how can I reach out to my community back in Buhweju district. So I went down and talked to people in the community, listened to the challenges they go through, especially to do with the environment, to do with agriculture. So luckily enough, my husband with his colleagues had formed a CBO, Chikombe Educational Fund for Life Transformation and Development. So I said, let me volunteer in your organization, in your CBO. Perhaps this can give us a stepping stone on how we can reach out to the communities. So I volunteered, and we reached out to the smallholder farmers where we mobilized them, and the first activity that we looked at is tree planting because the number of trees are reducing. People need firewood, we need to have trees to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So as I speak, since 2022, that was around October, we have so far planted over 3,000 trees, especially the fruit trees and indigenous species like Riveria, like Muvule, Africanus prunus, and many others. So from that, I said, no, we cannot stop at having just a CBO. So the idea of forming an NGO had to come up, and I initiated a Better Planet Initiative to continue championing environment work, to continue supporting communities out there, to ensure they do activities which help them fight poverty, but also help our environment in terms of reducing the carbon emissions in the atmosphere.
Wow. So now, where are you now with the organization?
We have less than 6 months in existence. So where we are actually mobilizing little funds, individual funds, to ensure that we have projects running. And so far we have that one, which is tree planting. We are also mobilizing communities to empower them in energy conservation, in building energy-saving stoves, yeah, in their kitchens. And you know, it's just a matter of talking to the people, the households, to make a contributions. And for you, just take the expertise.
What was your biggest challenge as a woman getting into this?
My biggest challenge as a woman, you know, when you're a woman undertaking a career, you also have a family out there. You have a number of people. We are in an African setting. There are a number of people who are looking up to you. So balancing home and also career sometimes was a challenge. But what I did to mitigate that, I'm an early riser, and I thank my late father who taught me to wake up very early. At 5, I'm already out of bed. I'm a Christian, I have to do devotion, and from that I have to see how I'm living my home to ensure that my people at home, my children, and the people that I live with have what to eat. And then there I can dash to work, yeah, to ensure that at least we have resources to keep the family, yeah.
Okay, that's important. So now that you are, what is your plan for the future?
My plan for the future is to see that communities, especially where I come from, are empowered to do work related to environment, helping them to reduce poverty, but again, helping to fight climate change. So I'm looking at my organization planting over 1 million trees, you know. I'm looking at working with Climate Action Network since I am now the vice chairperson of the board to ensure that we mobilize other organizations within the country to ensure that we scale up, you know, work to do with the environment so that our voice can be heard out there. When the country is participating in the COP, the Conference of Parties. These are conferences that happen annually, where many parties are brought on board, the countries are brought on board to discuss issues of how they can reduce carbon emissions in order to fight climate change. So my passion and my zeal is to ensure that I mobilize many organizations and even individuals for climate actions at grassroots level. You know, when you're talking about climate change, it starts with an individual.
That's true.
It starts with an individual. So yourself, if you're not empowered, if you're not a change maker, you cannot change the whole world.
So what is your last message to the women out there?
So the women out there, this is what I can tell you. Never be stuck in one enterprise.
That's true.
Do not just look at one thing. Oh, I'm a teacher. I am a social worker. I'm working in a hospital, and you think you can be stuck in one thing. No, look out for other different things that you can do. I can tell you, in my compound, I have vegetables. I generate my own manure because I do recycling in the kitchen, and the manure I convert it, the biodegradable material, I convert it to manure, and I plant my vegetables, and by the way, I sell some of those vegetables, and my family also can consume those vegetables. So I'm telling women out there, have entrepreneurship skills so that when one field fails, you can always go into another field. So I'm calling upon women. We are the custodians of homes, and you know, when it comes to climate change, women are affected most than any other gender because they are the ones who take care of the families. So as a woman, if women are put at the forefront in decision making, they can be able to influence a greater number of people. They can influence policy. Therefore, I'm urging women out there to join us as activists to be able to influence policy at national level and also at global level to do with climate change, so that we can ensure that we reduce carbon emissions. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, like she said, diversity is key. If there's one thing that COVID-19 taught all of us, you cannot be stuck on that one thing. Whatever you do, have at least 2, 3 more things that you will be doing. That I believe will be a fallback for you. Don't forget to follow us on our socials at Girl from Oyam and at Triumph Women UJ. This is still Triumph Women Beating the Odds, and my name is Okello Sharon Nagenjwa. Until next time.